Hey everyone! You know how sometimes people get hurt, not by accident, but because someone else messed up? Like, imagine someone spills their coffee on your new phone because they weren't looking. That's a bummer, right? In South Africa, we have laws to deal with those situations. It's called the law of delict. Delict is all about figuring out when someone has to pay for the damage they caused. It's about responsibility and making things right. But here's the thing. Not every little accident means someone has to pay up. To prove delict, we need to look at a few important things. First, we need an actual action or conduct from the person who supposedly caused the harm. Did they do something they shouldn't have? Or maybe they didn't do something they were supposed to do. That's what we're going to unpack next. So buckle up because we're about to dive into the fascinating world of delict and figure out when someone's actions, or lack of action, can get them into hot water. So, we know delict needs an action, right? But what counts as an action in the eyes of the law? Well, it's not as simple as it sounds. It's not always just a person doing something directly. Obviously, if you punch someone, that's an action. But what about a company that makes a faulty product that hurts someone? Yep. That counts too. Companies are like big people in the eyes of the law. They have responsibilities. Even animals can get involved. If your dog bites someone because you didn't train it properly, you could be held responsible. It's all about whether someone had control over the situation and whether they acted responsibly. Hold on tight because things are about to get really interesting. We're diving into the concept of voluntary action. It's not enough for an action to just happen. It has to be done consciously and willingly for it to count in delict. Let's explore this further. Alright, so we know actions matter in delict. But what makes an action truly count? Here's the thing. The action has to be voluntary. Think of it like this. You have to be in control of your body and mind when you act. If you're not in control, it's not really your fault, right? There's this famous case, S.V. Russell. A dude named Russell was working with a big old log. Someone yelled, "Watch out!" and he instinctively jumped out of the way. Problem was, he jumped right into the path of a train and, sadly, died. Now, his family tried to sue the guy who yelled, but the court said nope. See, Russell's reaction was totally automatic. He didn't think about it. It was like his body just reacted. That's not a voluntary action, and that means no delict. But here's where things get tricky. What about when you should have been in control but weren't? Like, if you drink too much and crash your car, you can't just say, "Oops, wasn't thinking straight." We'll dive into that more later. For now, just remember, voluntary action is key in the law of delict. Stay tuned. Okay, so we've tackled what makes an action count in the law of delict. But there's another layer to this. The action also needs to be wrongful. Now, you might be thinking, isn't any action that causes harm automatically wrong? Well, it's not always that simple. Imagine this. You see someone drowning and you're a really strong swimmer. You could easily jump in and save them, but you choose not to. Tragically, they drown. Now, most people would agree that's a pretty messed up thing to do, right? But legally, it gets complicated. In South Africa, we differentiate between acts of commission, doing something, and acts of omission, not doing something. Generally, you're more likely to be held liable for doing something that harms someone than for not acting, even if your inaction results in harm. There are exceptions, of course, like if you're a lifeguard, you have a legal duty to act and save people. But for everyday folks, the law is a bit more lenient on omissions. However, that doesn't mean you're off the hook if you do nothing. The key question is whether a reasonable person in your shoes would have acted to prevent the harm. We'll dig deeper into how the courts decide that in our next section. So stay tuned as we unravel this legal puzzle together.